What really happened in the last 5 minutes against the Philadelphia 76ers? I will break that down. Plus, a look at Anfernee Simons' defense right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT. Karalis, recap the madness every game, every practice. Primetime Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Your team is the Boston Celtics. I talk about them Monday through Friday. Bonus podcasts like the one coming up tomorrow after they play the Knicks in New York. So whenever they play on the weekends, you get another free podcast. They're all free. They're available everywhere, Monday through Friday. They're on YouTube. Get into the comment section there. Join your fellow everydayers, people who are with me when I drop a new show daily. So go ahead, subscribe. I'm John Karalis, beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a couple books about the team. I've been covering this team for about 20 years now. So I love talking about the Celtics. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Later on, I know we just talked about FanDuel, but later on, we're going to talk about gambling in the NBA. Obviously, big breaking news. I think we all have to talk about it. And we'll do that in the third segment. We'll get to Anfernee Simons' defense in the second segment. But I want to start with the last 5 minutes of the game against the Sixers. I took a deeper dive. In fact, on Friday morning, I will be publishing on Boston Sports Journal. I did a film session. I did a 45-minute. The video went longer than I thought it would, but it ended up being a 45-minute film session on everything that happened, both sides of the ball, in the last 5 minutes of the game. So I took a really, really close look at it. And I think my where I finally settled on where that game kind of fell apart is such a combination of things. I think you have guys who are doing things or being asked to do things that they haven't normally done. And that goes for guys like Mishketa, Xavier Tillman, to Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard. So it's across the board. You have guys being put in positions to do things that they maybe can't do, like Kata and Tillman trying to switch onto Xavier Tillman. Onto Tyrese Maxey. Anybody picking up Maxey on a switch is you're in for a tough night. But it's not like you're, Lou Dort out there or Dyson Daniels. Xavier and X, they do certain things well. Switching onto Maxey is a problem. And there were a couple of instances where they were kind of there. They kind of wanted, you can tell they kind of wanted to do what they were supposed to do, but their own weaknesses, their own limitations kind of pulled them out of the play. And it's like, you're going down the stretch against a high level player like Maxey, and you're asking these guys who normally don't play in those situations to make these plays. And I think it's probably a bit too much to ask of those guys. There were some timing issues. There were some things where guys weren't on the same page. One play really, really stood out to me in the last couple of minutes. Derek White and Jaylen Brown ran a pick and roll, and it was perfect. I want to say it was like a minute and a half to go. Celtics were up 4, and they had the whole thing set up. Jaylen is not normally a pick setter. And when he does set picks, it's usually because he has a mismatch that, Jayson Tatum wanted to attack. And so Jaylen comes up, they get the switch, Jaylen gets out of the way, Jayson goes one-on-one. Or he's trying to get a mismatch. He knows they're switching. And so he will set a pick to get the mismatch for himself. That's kind of the extent of Jaylen Brown's pick setting. So when he set a pick with Derek White, there was a spot where Jaylen's like, hey, great. I got the matchup I wanted. I got an advantageous matchup here, and I'm going to get the ball, get it to me. You get out of the way. I'm going to cook. Derek ran a pick and roll because he runs pick and rolls all the time. And when there's a lane to pass, he sees an opportunity to lead the roll man. 2 guys went to him. There was a wide open lane. The point guard read is, I'm going to lead you so you can go down the lane and maybe get a shot at the basket. So Jaylen went one way, Derek passed the other way, and Jaylen did kind of get his fingertips on the ball and regain control, but by that time the play was kind of busted, and Jaylen ended up getting a contested elbow jumper that missed. If he had read the play as a roll man, the way a roll man should read the play, he would have been led to the basket. Maybe he would have gotten a dunk. Maybe he would have gotten a dump off to Xavier Tillman. Maybe Tillman would have had a layup, or Tillman would have kicked it to the corner for a Sam Hauser 3. This is what I'm talking about, where guys are being asked to do things they don't normally do. And that goes all the way to the top, all the way to Jaylen Brown. And I'm in a sense blaming Jaylen for this, but I don't blame Jaylen for this. That's not what his level of expertise is. That's not, for years and years and years of him playing NBA basketball, he has almost never set a pick so he could roll to the basket and get a leading pass so he can make a play or get a dunk like that. That has never been his game. The instincts kick in. He knows what he wants to get. And in a clutch situation, he wanted to go to a place he was comfortable. That is absolutely understandable. Absolutely understandable. And now this is the Celtics challenge with this new configuration, the new responsibilities, the way the team is constructed. I liked that pick and roll. That was executed well, but the read wasn't there. And so that's where Jaylen, I talked about this a few episodes ago. Jaylen's level of awareness has to reach another level. For the Celtics to win, if they want to win 45 plus games, it has to reach a level where I would be insanely impressed if he can get there, because this is habits. This is years of habits. He almost has to break himself of all of the things that he knows how to do. I think he can do it. He's absolutely capable of doing it. But when I say the level of recognition, the things that he has to do that he hasn't normally had to do, that is a big ask of someone who is in year 10? Even on the defensive end. There was one particular play where Jaylen had, I forget who it was, driving down. It was Edgecombe. It was VJ Edgecombe, because I noted in the video that it's a rookie coming down the lane. Jaylen is in the middle of the lane, and it was a perfect situation to draw a charge. I can't tell you the last time Jaylen Brown drew a charge, set his feet, took one to the chest, fell backwards, and drew an offensive foul. That's not his game. He's a super athlete, and he wants to go up and block the shot. He wants to use his athleticism to block the shot. But that situation called for setting up, taking the charge, just a simple play. Get the turnover, because you have VJ Edgecombe, who is having a monster game, coming down the lane. You know he wants to dunk on you. You know he's building up a head of steam. You're in position. He was out of the restricted area. He was there. All you had to do was protect yourself, take one to the chest, boom, offensive foul. You draw the turnover, go down, you score, you extend your lead. But Jaylen went up to try to challenge the shot, and he did challenge the shot. They did miss that shot, but on the back end of that play is Peyton Pritchard defending 3 guys because of the way the rotation's set up. Pritchard is now stuck, and a the biggest guy on the floor for Philly ducks in. Pritchard does his best to try to push him underneath the basket to try to get the rebound. He tried, but couldn't move him, couldn't out jump him, too short to get to the ball, and they get a putback. And so in a vacuum, you say, well, Jaylen challenged the shot, and that was good, but the play called for to take a charge. And so again, I'm using Jaylen as the example because he's the best player on the floor for Boston. And those are the things he has to do. He has to get his head to a place now where you are a charge taker. You have to recognize when to take the offensive foul. You are a roll man sometimes. You are doing things that are out of your comfort zone. And that's where I think Jaylen and others, I saw Nimi, I saw X, I saw Pritchard, I even saw Derek White a couple of times, just in places where you're like, this is not exactly their wheelhouse. So did they make mistakes? Yes. There's a bad closeout. Like I said, there were timing issues. There were, guys not on the same page, a lack of communication where 2-3 guys ended up on one player because you don't have a big. This is a problem for the Celtics. The bigs that they have, and when I come back, I'll talk about the bigs. The bigs that they have are not able to do what the bigs did before, communication-wise, especially. I'll expand on that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win. Not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Today's show is also brought to you by DoorDash. NBA season is heating up. We just had the second OKC double overtime game, and DoorDash is on the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the bag drop. Every time somebody scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day. You're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. And guess what? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scored 55. So if you get Dash Pass on Friday, DoorDash is going to drop 50% off your order. Just do it. You're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. So that's player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff you actually want. So DoorDash has you covered for late-night highlights, last-minute watch parties, and double OT fuel-ups. So the next time somebody goes off for 50, like SGA just did, use the promo code NBA50 right now. Do it right now. The next day after somebody drops 50, you'll get 50% off DoorDash with Dash Pass. Plus, your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game. With the promo code, terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Game Night. They're covering that monster game and another double OT win for the Thunder. Thunder have played 2 games, and they've played, 12 periods, 4 overtimes. So it's an extra 20 minutes. They've played 2.5 games with 2 wins. So, Locked On NBA Game Night's going to have the whole thing covered, plus the whole league every night, 7 games a week, plus Locked On NBA on the same feed every day. All right, let's get back to the bigs here, because I think Celtics big men, it's not just what can they do on the floor, what can't they do on the floor. Like I said, the switching on to Maxey was a problem. And, there are limitations to all of these guys. Kata, I thought he did have a really good game. He made some defensive mistakes, and the fouls were a little too much. He made, a couple of decisions that I'm sure he wanted to take back. But beyond that, the Celtics are often finding these guys now pulled out to the 3-point line, and they just don't have the communication on the back end to be able to direct guys. Honestly, Al Horford is one of the things that he did great was he was able to keep the defense organized. And stylistically, the Celtics are taking so many more chances that the bigs are in a different spot. The defense is situated differently, where last season, as Peyton Pritchard has put it was a safe defense, and you didn't chase as much, you didn't gamble as much, and your bigs kind of stayed where they were supposed to be, and they would call out coverages and call out where guys were supposed to be. That communication cost the Celtics down the stretch. If they just had that communication, they probably would have gotten a couple more stops and they would have been okay. So I would say that the miscommunication cost them. And it was the Oubre 3 in the corner. There was an offensive putback, so that's 5 points. There might be another one in there. So at least 5, maybe 7 points in a 1-point loss. That just communication alone would have solved. So everything else being the same, communication alone would have stopped a few of those plays. So that's something that the bigs that they have just not at that mental level. They're not there. And in the style of defense doesn't put a big traditionally where he would be. And it's going to be up to guys like Jaylen, because Jaylen found himself in the middle of the paint sometimes. He's going to have to call that stuff out. It's a ton of responsibility. I think maybe my biggest takeaway after that first game, having rewatched everything, is Jaylen is going to have so much more responsibility beyond, hey, he's got to make a few more plays and he's got to distribute a little bit more. And he has to be aware of so much more. It's such a huge ask. And even like, this isn't a knock on Jaylen. They're going to be asking him to take on the responsibilities of a point guard, of a center, of, Marcus Smart, of Derek White, like those kind of mentalities. He's going to have to embody all of that. And I'm sure he's going to say, well, I'm up to that challenge. Okay, good. I hope you are, because if the Celtics are going to be any good in a playoff team, if they want to be a playoff team, Jaylen's going to have to be this is going to have to be the absolute highest IQ, smartest year Jaylen has ever played. And his stats may not even change. I would even say if Jaylen does all the other stuff, his stats can go down. It would be the best year of his career. If he can do all that other stuff, that would be the most impressive thing that I've ever seen. So anyway, the Celtics bigs don't have that capability. And they're asked to do a lot. Now, Anfernee Simons on defense is also asked to do a lot. And this is, again, when you don't have traditional big men back there protecting the rim, there's a lot of pressure on somebody like Simons to come in and stay in front of a guy. I thought Simons did okay on defense. I would say it was a little bit of a mixed bag. Right now, his biggest issue, I'll say issues plural, is still, I think, maybe overreacts tiny bit and gets caught going too far one way when he should be, I think, in front. Now, there are a couple of those things that I saw that I'm like, ooh, was that an overreaction? And it's more like, I think that's how he's coached. And I think the Celtics right now might be okay with some of those overreactions, because it's just a matter of, it's one of those cases where you'd rather have a guy do too much and rein it in than not do enough and try to pull it out of him. That, I think, is where Simons is on some of those plays, where there was one in the last few minutes where I think Barlow had the ball at the free throw line, and Simons, he had his back to Simons, and Simons is like, I know that when I see somebody's back, I'm supposed to go in there and try to strip it. and then it pulled him kind of out of position, and that threw the rest of the defense into rotation, and they gave up an offensive rebound. That's one of those where I think the Celtics are just going to have to live with the results of that play, because that's Simons can say, I saw his back. I thought I saw the ball. I kind of went for it, and it just kind of wasn't there. Fine. Early growing pains, that's one you live with. It's not a big deal. The other issue, though, is I think he has to figure this out. When you hit him with a pick, like in a pick and roll, not navigating off-ball screens, when you hit him with a pick, he tends to die just a little bit, and he sticks to it too much. But we also saw, and I tweeted this out, 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, the absolute best defensive possession I've seen out of Simons, maybe ever. Picking up three-quarter court, switching, navigating off-ball screens, staying in front, forcing a pass, beautiful stuff. So he has it in him. So I was really impressed with that defensive possession, and really impressed that the effort. So the effort is there. He's listening to the coaching. He's making mistakes. That in game 1 of the season, I think, fine. You obviously don't want to see the mistakes. And now you go into New York and you say, okay, correct one or two of these things. Stop making the same mistake over and over again. We don't want to see that. That's where you tend to have problems. As a coach, you say, okay, you've made this mistake. Here's the film. You get it. We drill it. Don't make that mistake again. Or if you do, maybe it's not as egregious. As long as there's progress, as long as there's some semblance of he's getting it. That's where you need to be with Simon. So in one of the biggest storylines of the offseason, Simon's defense, I like the effort. I think some of the execution on some possessions, it's like 75% great execution. And then boom, here comes the screen. You're like, okay, we're going to work on this. But I do think that he's actually trying to do what the Celtics want. And that's kind of all you can ask. And if he keeps trying to do that, that'll be good. The key here, I'll wrap this up on this. You can, like, everybody is trying to do what the coaches want in game 1. Can you do that in game 10, game 20, game 30? Sometimes when you get beat, can you make a mistake and not hang your head? Can you make a couple of mistakes and not be like, you know what, screw this, I'm just going back to my old habits? That's going to be where it goes. So right now, fine. I kind of like where he's at, where he is. He's in a good spot. He's not a good defender yet necessarily. He's in a good spot, and he had that one tremendous possession where you see you see it. You just see it. So we'll come back. I have to talk about this gambling scandal in the NBA. We'll do that when I come back. Today's show is brought to you by Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. Just sitting here talking about all the excuses the Celtics are trying to avoid, but we've heard them all ourselves before, right? It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everybody sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, all online, no awkward waiting rooms or in-person appointments. If you get prescribed, the treatment ships to your door discreetly, and it's fast, simple, and private, all handled by real doctors. So it's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rougiette.com, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your order. RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. Use that code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rougiette. Stop making excuses. Start making moves. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can take advantage of FanDuel's best deal yet with the NFL, with NBA. New customers, you just bet $5, you get $300 in bonus bets if you win. So you pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So you can use a lot. There are a lot of different ways to play. You can build a parlay, try player props, even follow live lines during games. Makes football, basketball, a little something extra on the game, can make it a little bit more fun. So very important though, when you sign up, it'll give you the option to set your budget, set your limit. Please do that. Set your limit at whatever you can afford to lose. If you happen to hit a cold streak and you lose that, it'll stop you. You can come back to it later and you can pick it back up where, maybe you can hit a couple. The whole point is gamble responsibly. Go to FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make your second listen Locked On NBA, Locked On Fantasy Basketball, that is. I already talked about Locked On NBA. Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd, the absolute best when it comes to fantasy basketball podcasting. You're going to learn a lot about the game. You're going to learn a lot about fantasy basketball. You're going to win your league because he's going to help you with all the drops and ads and all that stuff throughout the season that people are going to be like, how did you know to pick this person up? Because Josh Lloyd told you and you pay attention. So check it out wherever you got this podcast. All right, let's get into this scandal here. It's the biggest thing in the NBA right now. And look, we know, I just did an ad for FanDuel. Gambling is kind of everywhere, but there's legal gambling where you and I put down a few bucks. That is totally fine, right? What is happening in the NBA is a different animal. And the league has to embrace what's happening here. And embrace that these things are happening, that the authorities are catching it, that often it's a sports book that recognizes some unusual activity is coming in on a player. The league has to be fully invested. You can't just take the money from sports betting and move, be like, hey, that's it. We're fine. Can't be lip service. The league has to embrace this, has to work with all of the sports book everywhere. When they find unusual betting patterns, they have to pounce, they have to investigate, they have to get the authorities involved. We can't have these multi-year FBI investigations, these things where the league is like, oh yeah, we looked into Terry Rozier, nothing we can do, he's cleared. And then all of a sudden, big, massive FBI investigation. That's not a good look. I'm fine. Legalized sports gambling, to me, it's like drinking. Listen, one of my best friends, an alcoholic, is really struggling. But that's an issue that some people have to deal with and try to get the help that they need. And hopefully they're able to do that. But that doesn't mean that I can't go out and have a drink with my friends. It's all about responsibility. It's all about personal responsibility. Anything that's out there, if it's not done responsibly, is potentially dangerous. So, like driving a car, even so, I think where the league dropped the ball is kind of, I think, letting it, from what it seems, get to a point where they looked into it and now we're here. Like, how can you look into something and not find anything when there's this big, massive FBI investigation? Now, I understand the league doesn't have, the authority to subpoena people. They don't have the ability to take somebody's phone, a personal phone, and somebody's connected to somebody. The league can't go to that person and be like, give me your phone. But the cops can, the FBI can, and that's the difference, right? And so there is some leeway here with the NBA, but the responsibility when you're getting into bed with an entity that can directly impact the games and call into question the integrity of the sport, You have no choice but to be extraordinarily vigilant, extraordinarily proactive, and to make sure that you're not putting players in a situation where they can be tempted to do certain things. Maybe player props need to end. Maybe we need to not do the player prop bets and how many points, because it's too easy to have somebody say, oh, I'm hurt, I'm leaving. Oh, geez, all my unders hit. Oh, who saw that coming? Maybe player props need to be looked at. And that's something that I think is very much on the table. It has to be on the table. The league cannot put the integrity of the sport in jeopardy for a few extra bucks. I would rather they lose a little bit of money because they put limits on some of the live stuff, the in-game stuff, than say, hey, no, we're doing what we can and it's up to everybody else. It's not us. No, you have to find a way. Like, yeah, I get it. You want to have people engaged and it's a revenue stream and all that stuff. But look, come on, you got to have a little bit of integrity here and understand what's happening and pull back some of the stuff that puts the game at risk. Okay. That's it. That pull back on things that put the game at risk and you'll be okay. And now this isn't even talking about the Chauncey Billups alleged poker. That's a whole different thing. That's just illegal gambling with mafia ties, which is crazy. That is a crazy story. I can at least understand a player, maybe not Terry Rozier, but maybe a player that's kind of like on the cusp and, you know, struggling and maybe falling in with the wrong people and like making some bad choices. That's one thing. Getting into bed allegedly with the mafia, if that's true, well, some of it happened. Whether Chauncey Billups is involved or not, I don't know. But somebody ran an illegal gambling poker ring with X-ray tables and, you know, rigged card shufflers like that. The whole thing is just crazy. That is like, you have to make a series of choices to be involved with that. So I don't know if Chauncey did it or not. Somebody was involved. Whoever was involved with that made a series of choices to be there. And that's crazy to me. I don't know. I hope none of this actually happened, but I don't think we get here without something to it. So we'll see how it goes. But right now, everything's alleged. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but we'll see. But the league has to, you have no choice. It doesn't matter if you piss off the sports books. It doesn't matter. You have to be at the front of the line on this. Eliminate the things that can manipulate a game. Eliminate the stuff that a player can look at and say, okay, I have the power to change the outcomes of certain parts of this game so somebody I know can make money. That you have to eliminate. Absolutely. Because I will not, like, I can't stand if the commissioner and these owners aren't willing to protect the integrity of the game, then we have to come up with a solution. Something has to change. And so we'll see what happens from here. This is a pivotal moment for Adam Silver, a pivotal moment for him as commissioner, right? He already faced one, years ago with the Clippers, and he was strong on that one. This is worse. Okay. Or at least as bad. On a different level, but at least as bad. So he has to be strong on this one. We'll see where it goes. All right. That's the show. I'll be back after the Knicks game with a bonus podcast. Bonus podcast could be 10 minutes, could be 40 minutes, who knows? It's a bonus podcast. So we'll see how the game goes, and I'll treat it appropriately. The podcast will be there after the game. It will be free. It will be available everywhere. It'll be on YouTube. So get into the comment section on any one of my videos and share your thoughts there. Join the everydayers. Join the Celtics community. There are a lot of great conversations happening in the comment section. So join it, and then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.